Let's do it.
Let's go. All right, Sylvia, great to meet you. Thank you so much. It's always great to run into Kansas City people on the platform, so it's so nice to meet you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat and jump into some good stuff today.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into it. I want to get into your life as an entrepreneur. And the first question I have for you is this. Surviving that pandemic sent ripples through our lives that we still feel to this day. And I don't know that we've really even harnessed all of the ramifications that it's done to humanity. But in your world, in your life, how has it reverberated into what you do today?
Okay, so we are an online business. And so for us, it was not a very dramatic or drastic change as far as my main company, Lifted Naturals.
Yeah.
We built that from the standpoint of scalability, leverageability. I'm a mom first and foremost. And so time freedom and creative time with them is my top priority. So we had already built it in a way that it was very hands off. So for us, it was really just a matter of making sure we used language that was compliant during a health crisis as a natural health supplement company.
Yeah.
So our biggest lesson was really a unique kind of different angle of how do we still discuss this without trying to, um, you know, break any sort of rules or still remain compliant, but also offer some support to people that for the first time in their life, some people are like, excuse me, how do we be healthy?
Uh-huh. Yeah. And so I would imagine that would have an uptick, a natural uptick for you because there were so many revelations that people had about their health.
Yeah, yeah. It was an initial uptick. And then things kind of got a little weird for some of our natural health friends as far as feeling a little censored online and feeling like, what we could and couldn't say. So it was a unique journey of how much of this am I doing to myself? How much of this is like a real truth that I'm experiencing as far as suppression of some content on different platforms?
Yeah.
And it really was, I would say, just another awakening of regardless, I am still the driver of my own bus.
Yeah. You know what's so weird about like reading 1984 and those dystopian novels is that you're sitting there and you're like, could this actually happen? And then when COVID happened, it's like all of a sudden it just felt like a lead weight on all of us. And I don't want to get into something that's going to potentially become an ironic metaphor of what I'm talking about, but it's really weird how, especially in the healthy side and scientific side of our realities, those things have become kind of taboo, so to speak, when they really have been natural remedies and they've been things that people have used for centuries to overcome things.
If I may, I'll just use one very easy example. It was stay inside to stay
Yeah.
safe. And for me, that's breaking rule number one, actually. You go outside, you get fresh air and you get sunlight. Like to me, that was, one of the first like, oh, this is not going to be
Uh-huh.
good because this natural air and light are the keys to our cells. And so it's like, that's not good. And then another thing that I truly believe in is the power of human connection. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, no, we're going to need to stay, away from each other. And
Uh-huh.
so there's just some things there that just really rattled me to my core. I didn't know we were going to jump right into the most soul crushing part of my entrepreneurial journey here, but yeah.
Sorry. I like to start out with that because it was such a big thing, but I felt it was strange in around May or so that there were commercials, the PSAs of like all of the things that we're told since kindergarten we're supposed to do as human beings. And then all of a sudden, this entire lifetime was halted and we were supposed to do other things that were just
Yeah.
anterior to what we know as being human.
Yeah. I'm being a little silly there as far as into
Right.
but it really was a pivotal time for everyone,
Yeah.
regardless of how you came from it. There was fear galore. And so I would love to use this as like, no matter what your perspective on that time was, fear was elevated. And really, fear is not our friend when it comes to a thriving human body.
Yeah.
So fear is kind of like this block of love and flow,
Yeah.
and health. And so, whichever angle you came from it, you were probably afraid.
Yeah. Right.
And so, it depends what you or who you were afraid of.
Yeah.
But we were all on the same bus once again, though. We were afraid.
Yeah.
And so, I feel like that lesson has come through to me again and again. Like, don't let fear drive the bus. Don't build a big fence around your heart.
Yeah.
Keep it open, stay loving, forgive others, forgive yourself, do it again and again. And that really is a big part of the healing journey, in my opinion.
One of my favorite quotes from the poet Charles Bukowski is, "We're born geniuses and buried idiots." And we spend our lives putting up so many fences around this potential of wonder, and all of these things that we're supposed to do to be curious, to maintain that childlike spirit inside of us.
Yes, that's beautiful. I love it.
So let me ask you this. If we to get to the heart and soul of what you do right now in 2024, I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders. It's career day, and one of the kids in the back of the room is curious and is like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer
Okay.
the child?
So raise your hand if you have a gut.
Yeah.
Raise your hand if you have a brain. Raise your hand if you knew that your gut and your brain are chitty chatting all day long. Okay.
Yeah.
So our mood probiotics that we've created are specially made to help that connection to stay open, to stay connected, and to stay in tune with each other. So that's the premise of our mood probiotics is that they support your gut brain connection, that two-way communication, your gut talking to your brain and your brain talking to your gut.
So let's go back to the third grade for you. What did you want to be when you grew up?
Okay, I like to say I waltzed out of the womb an entrepreneur.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
not everybody does, and you don't have to be one, but some of us do, and we have to own it when we do because it's almost like a leg up because we don't have to figure out like, do I have it in me? I love to say I had a job once. It was the worst day of my life. What I'm saying is I like to be the boss. I like to take my ideas and run.
Mhm.
I have a vision for the future that is greater than the present. And for me, that really is the key to entrepreneurship is the visioning.
Yeah.
The E-Myth talks about there's three hats you wear when you are a business owner. So you're either the technician who does the implementation work, the manager who makes sure it all goes to flow, or the entrepreneur who has the vision.
Yeah.
And so lucky for me, I actually married a manager slash technician.
Okay.
That's pretty lucky. I didn't
Yeah.
even know at the time that that was going to fall into place that way. But when I got the idea for Lifted, I was like, hey, I've got a bigger business idea than I've ever had before.
Yeah.
Like I said, well, so the woman entrepreneur, that means I've been doing things, making things, selling things, shelling things. Here we go, right? I've got an idea. I can do this better. Here I go. But the idea for Lifted was bigger, and I knew it was going to require a couple more hands on deck.
Yeah.
Um, Lucky for me, the person I brought on is someone I share a bed and bank account with. I
Yeah.
don't think I would go into business with anybody otherwise.
Yeah.
So that worked out really well. But yeah, the third grade vision of me was always playing work or playing house, which is exactly what I do today.
Right. So take me back. Are you originally from Kansas City?
No, I'm from a small town in Northeast Missouri, about 3 hours from here.
Okay, so take me back to your childhood. What were the foundational elements that really kind of not only planted these entrepreneurial seeds, but kind of harvested them and made you want to do this with your life?
I don't think it was like a made you want to do. It was a natural inclination to do, right? So like if I had books, like I wanted to sell them. If I had lemonade, I wanted to sell it. If I
Yeah.
had something, it was like this, like I have it, you need it, you want it, it's good. Like, and I can't say sales is to this day any of my top asset. I think it's more that creative vision and energetics that I try to um, tap into so that it's like a magnetization rather than, oh, my products are so good and they're the best. And I do occasionally use that in my marketing because, if you don't believe in your products, who will? But it doesn't come as naturally to me. So yeah, I'm literally taking any endeavor that excites me and turning it into a small business. Um, as far as usually it's play. So it wasn't like literal customers because I lived on a quiet street, but I would set up my books and have make believe customers come in and buy my stuff and you know play that fun game.
What was the first business? What was the first venture that you had?
Okay, so I love to say that Lifted was my overnight success that only took 10 years of entrepreneurial failure. So there's definitely been other businesses,
Uh-huh.
right? To really nail in on the first one, I would say the first real one was I made jewelry and I sold it around different shops in Kansas City. And I
Yeah.
love to tell the story of the very first time that I was like pitching my wares to a shop.
Yeah.
I picked up the phone and I had a script and I wrote it myself. And I said something like, "Hi, my name is Sylvia Hall. I'm a local jewelry designer. I would love to come by and show you my stuff and maybe you could sell it in your shop." It's like, well, that's simple, right? But I literally was almost vomiting on my words because I'm like, I'm a jewelry designer. Like, it's only been, I don't know how long it had been that I've been toying around with making things.
Yeah.
But as I got a little older, my funds increased. So I used to make rings out of dandelions and rope that I would find on the ground, right?
Yeah.
But I was able to elevate to sterling silver at that time and other, mixed metals and play around with making pieces. And I was able to go on and get into like 7 or 8 different shops all at
Wow.
one time.
Yeah.
And also launched on Etsy before Etsy really blew up. So I was in like the infantile phase of Etsy,
Yeah.
which I love to, if we could loop back around, if you can help me remember that
Yeah.
premise of getting into the market at the right time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you
Yeah.
help me remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So Etsy, I was able to end up selling around 1,000 pieces of my jewelry.
Wow.
7 or 8 shops that I would pop into, trade out what wasn't selling, give them some new pieces. And so Sylvia C Jewelry was that first, what I would call real company. But let
Yeah.
me tell you something, I was working hard.
Right.
I was working real hard. I was
Yeah.
making the pieces, marketing myself, going to the shops, packaging and shipping. And this was all the while my kids, I was like pregnant with one and the other one was a couple years old. So it was that stay-at-home vision of I know I want to be a stay-at-home mom, and I also know I want to use this creativity in a way that's entrepreneurial because that's like my essence.
Yeah.
So,
So, do you remember having a moment where somebody bought jewelry and you saw that spark in their eyes and it just confirmed to you that this is what you need to be doing with your life?
so to be honest, it's not quite like that. For me, my personal taste is very strong. So
Yeah.
if I put on a piece of jewelry and I'm like, that looks good, so it's that inner guidance
Uh-huh.
that I would encourage everyone to tap into.
Yeah.
Never look at someone else that's finally lit up about your work. You will be waiting sometimes for a long time.
Yeah.
Always be the guide of, do I love this? Am I proud of this?
Yeah.
Like to me, that is a really huge shift that people can make to really start to make their dreams come true. It's
Yeah.
not a matter of someone else being impressed with my dreams. It's like, am I impressed with my dreams?
I heard somebody at one point say that the true mark of an entrepreneur is designing something that solves a problem. Yeah, and it's kind of what you're saying. Like, it doesn't really matter to a certain degree. It does. I mean, you want to sell it, but it really is, are you going to partake in this venture that you have created?
Yes, that is the perfect segue into how I created Lifted Naturals, which was after my own personal struggles postpartum. I went looking for solutions because I wasn't feeling well. I wasn't feeling like myself. Other solutions I feel like maybe worked at first, but then made me feel worse. So I was completely determined and a little scorned because I felt like it had stolen from my presence with my kids, my family. So that is what led me to the gut brain connection, and that is when I started to realize there are specific types of probiotic bacteria that have been shown in studies to help with how the body handles stress, regulating mood naturally. And it was from that research that I began to trial and error with myself personally. And I've always considered myself fairly sensitive. So, like, that means the first time I had a bottomless cup of coffee, I was rhyming, rapping, and singing. And I didn't really know like what had happened, but that was, just
Yeah.
because it's bottomless doesn't mean we have to really partake in that much
Yeah.
caffeine. Those are
Yeah.
my crazy college
Sure, of
days.
course. Of course.
So the whole premise of finding that bacterial strains, probiotics, specific strains, right, could help with mood was what led me to this. Like, okay, I want to find like a mood probiotic, and I was like, okay, I'm not that impressed with what I'm finding on the market. I'm
Yeah.
not that impressed with what's out there. I think I can do it better. I think I'll do it myself.
Yeah.
And to clarify, the research was mine. The hand selecting various strains was mine. But from there, I went on to look for a high quality GMP US based manufacturer that could bring that vision to life. So, it's not like I'm taking full credit for this. They have a lab team and scientists that I was able to say, okay, does this qualify? Can we call it this? Can we call it that? And getting their support was key. But it was definitely that vision of I have a problem. I'm looking for a solution. I'm not impressed with the solutions out there. I think I can do it better. Bada bing, bada boom.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Any good entrepreneur, athlete, or whatever out there, you're standing on the shoulders of giants tangentially or literally. Who has that been for you? Who has been that hero, that role model, that inspiration in your life that has been a bedrock?
So I love that you bring up sports because I was very competitive as a kiddo.
Yeah.
I played a lot of sports. I was from a small town, so we didn't have a lot, but I tried them all and I liked a lot of them. And there was a kind of inner demon that would come out that was kind of scary. Teachers would say, I come to the game to watch you play because your face is just everything. And I'm pretty expressive and what I lacked in talent, I made up for with aggression and effort. Um, but that competitive nature it looks healthy, but actually for me it really wasn't. And for me it was a drain to my feminine energy of flow and abundance and creation. And so for me, I channeled so much of that competitive spirit into a more business sense, so away from sports and into business. But even still, I didn't want to stay competitive, like it's me against you, and like I'm going to get a piece of the pie. I've really leaned into we just bake more pies.
Yeah.
I'm not taking your pie. I don't want your pie. I want you to have pie. I love it when I'm around people who have lots of pie.
Yeah.
I want pie. I want you to have pie. Let's eat our pie together. You like different pie than I like. So it's not like we're even really fighting over, but we'll just bake some
Yeah.
more with our creativity and our solutions. So
Yeah.
for me, it was a funneling of sports led into business and competitive led into collaboration and connection.
Yeah.
As far as a kind of a pivotal moment in my life or a guiding light, I will probably point to my husband because um, I actually fell in love with him when I was 15. And
Okay.
so he has been in my life like since I can even remember turning into the person I really am.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so because he is such so different than I am, and yet so the same. So energetically, we're a very good match, and yet how we operate is so different.
Yeah.
He really is able to um, bring a lot of my ideas to life or help me to implement them. So
Yeah.
I have the vision and I have the get started energy, and he has that maintenance. Let's get it rolling into a functional pattern kind of energy. So for me, that has been really a game changer to have that kind of support so early in my life.
So who do you admire the most that's an entrepreneur out there? And this could be another part of it, a tributary off of it. Who would you like to meet and hang out with and see how they operate and ask questions to?
This is gonna blow your mind, but like off the top of my head, I don't have anybody. Like
Okay.
I could think on it and I will, and it's a great question, but I just stay in my own lane and
Sure.
I don't put people on a pedestal really.
Hmm.
I like to really just connect. Like I would rather connect with somebody that's got like zippy energy, that's like lit up. They've got 5 new projects they can't wait to start.
Yep.
They have an idea of how they can get some funds going for that. They don't have the full picture, but they know they want to do X, Y, and Z. Like to me, I'm more appealed to the energetics of a person and less their accomplishments.
Yeah.
Because I've experienced immense accomplishments and then I've still had lows and that it really we aren't defined by what we do.
Yeah.
I'm more inspired by who someone is being.
Yeah. So, what is that inspiration for you every day to wake up to do this work? It's obviously hard work. You want to do the best you can, but you also have to develop yourself as a human being. How do you balance that? And what is ultimately the motivator for you to do this work?
It sounds kind of cheesy and it's been overused, but really it is like a heart-spaced living.
Yeah.
So to not do these things is out of alignment. Like to do the work I'm doing, and the more I do it, the more I am aligned with that true essence of who I am. I am someone who likes to talk about ideas. I like to offer inspiration. I like to share some of my failures so that it can be more relatable, and so that someone that's going through a hard time can feel that connection and be like, well, if she can do it, I can do it, right? Because so often we are our own biggest block because of what we've been through or our thought patterns. We settle and then we normalize the settling. And so because I've been through various dark nights of the soul, various times of my life that felt like, oh, I am rock bottom again. And it may not look like to the outside world, but emotionally I've lost that spark or that connection. Like because I have experienced that, I know what it feels like. And so I use that contrast to then lean into more of what I do want, which, like I said, is that heart led, like to really feel your heart open, like
Sure.
as far as connecting, like deeply, there's just nothing better than that. No
Yeah.
matter what you've accomplished, no matter what you've created, and I love to create. So I've since lifted, I've started my own publishing company where I design inspirational coloring books. It's called Honeypot Publishing. You can find it on Amazon. I'm working on my personal brand where I'm really bringing in the essence of what I've been teaching through Lifted, but under my own umbrella of sylviahall.com. Those are things like when it's not about like if it looks successful to someone else. For me, it really is about it's like putting on a pair of earrings and saying, dang, that looks good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And from that place, knowing that it looks good or feels good because it is of service. It's not just egoic. It's not just my ego saying I look good. Like
Sure.
it's that looks good, therefore it is good. It is of value. And I do believe we all have a unique genius, a unique value just pulsing inside of us saying, are you going to let me out?
Yeah.
Are you going to show the world this gift? And it's usually a little bit different. Like it's that thing that's like, you're a little weird. And I definitely have always been called a little bit weird. And
Yeah.
I use that title proudly. I do not see it as an insult because to be in the normal hum almost feels like you're not really alive. So what someone calls weird is actually just a pulse of aliveness, then I'll take it every day.
Well said. So let's say you have a dream tonight. You run into the 18-year-old version of you. You can give that young version of you a piece of advice based on this life you've lived, the wisdom you've accumulated. What advice would you impart on that young version of you?
It would just be to keep loving. Don't worry. I feel like that idea of letting go of worry, because I don't know, what do you want to call it? A little higher strung, a little over concerned, right? I got
Yeah.
a lot of energy bouncing around. So if I could just really, and not just say, don't worry, but like embed into her cells from a
Yeah.
cellular knowing it's okay.
Yeah.
Everything's okay. And your inner peace ripples out and it's worth the focus of prioritizing that inner peace, to
Yeah.
prioritize that feeling good deep, deep within yourself, a deep, deep knowing that it's all going to be okay.
Totally. So, of all of these things that you've done in your life and accomplished, what are you the proudest of?
Okay, so I was a stay-at-home mom. I was making the jewelry, working really hard, trying to be present mom, but sometimes I wasn't. I was much younger then as a young mom, so I have a 15 and 13-year-old. So I was a young mom
Yeah.
and very passionate about motherhood from the get-go, but my ability to be present has really grown. And so I've always known be a mom, be a business owner,
Yeah.
and that stay-at-home mom, there are certain times throughout the businesses that I wasn't really making that much, but it was okay. I was able to be with my kids. My husband had a great job, but we had a vision for him to be able to live that entrepreneurial life and to be home with our kids too. And about 2 short years after creating Lifted Naturals, he was able to quit his job as an engineer. And it went from being that stay-at-home mom that was taken care of to having created something
Yeah.
that enabled him to live the life that he wanted to live and put his passions into things. So that was truly one of my favorite moments, I'd say.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Since I know Kansas City well, and maybe a lot of people don't out there, as an entrepreneur, what's the greatest thing about living in this town? What is it that fosters this level of creativity and energy and being successful?
So I will say there's ample networking opportunities, but I really can't say in the last few years I've capitalized on those. I've really kind of locked into my own lane of getting the work done and then being a present mom and building my life and playing house. I have these kids that want like meal after meal after meal every day. They're hungry.
Uh-huh.
Um, so for me, I would say personally, this is my unique stance is I love to go to all our different coffee shops.
Yeah.
I can't imagine living in a town that didn't have numerous different coffee shops. So sometimes I want to work, but I got to get out of the house. So I take my laptop, I take my headphones, and I can just lock in with that buzzy environment. So
Yeah.
to me, that's maybe kind of a lame answer, but it's my
Yeah.
personal answer that I love our coffee shops.
Yeah, yeah, I do too. So let me ask you this. Everyone out there has a perception of you and all these incarnations of what you do as an entrepreneur and as a family person, friends, everyone that knows you, customers, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Ooh,
The
that's a
therapy
deep one.
question.
Yeah. Um, I feel like what I bring consistently to my family or any project I start is an energetic component because I feel like that really is who we always are, right? At our very essence is we have this, we call it a soul or an energy that is like the essence of who we are. And so it is my aspiration to bring that unique essence. And if I had to label it, it would be a little quirky, a little silly, like a silly goose. I love to consider myself a bit of a silly goose.
Yeah.
um, I am very sensitive and also very passionate. And so I feel like I'm a sensitive, passionate, silly goose, if I had to
Yeah.
say.
I like it. So is it how long have you been in Kansas City proper?
It's been, how long has it been? 18 years now?
Isn't it weird how much we've grown, like the dynasty of the football team? And when you talk about coffee shops like Cafe Corazon, there's all these new places that pop up all the time. It's amazing how, like, we're going to get the World Cup. Isn't it just kind of weird how much this town has grown up over time?
It's a beautiful thing. And also, the longer you're here, the smaller it gets. I will say
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
used to feel like, well, I'm in the city. Like, I could probably just not run into anybody I know. And that only works for a year or two.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah, I
And
get
now
that.
it's like, we've had kids in different schools and different sports and different. And so we're going to run into somebody if you're
Yeah.
at, Target or whatever.
That's a good point for sure. So if
Yeah.
anyone out there wants to dive into your world, any of the myriad of things that are going on, publishing and everything, the probiotics, how do they do that? How do they get involved?
So you can find most information at my personal website, sylviahall.com.
Yeah.
Or if you're really intrigued by these mood probiotics, you can go to liftednaturals.com. We sell on Amazon. We sell directly from our website, and we also sell on Walmart online.
Okay.
Most people love to shop on Amazon because they're like a beast, right? They're a giant.
Yeah.
Hey, and we said we were going to loop back around. And how many people would be upset if we didn't?
Let's do it. Let's go back. Let's
It's a
loop.
perfect segue because
Yeah.
Amazon was another opportunity that I was like, I think we should do this. And 7 years ago, Amazon was not what it is today. Just like when I got in on Etsy and I then sold 1,000 items. If you get started on Etsy today, selling 1,000 items is going to be kind of hard. I'm not saying it's impossible, just
Yeah.
saying that market opportunities are always available. That's what I
Yeah.
wanted to say. A lot of what I've created has been really awesome because I was in the right place at the right time. But why was I there? Because I believed in myself and I believed in my vision.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be another opportunity like that. Maybe not quite as big, maybe not a dot-com boom or, now we're looking at crypto and that sort of thing. But the right place, right time requires the right mindset and the right belief in yourself. And so I just really do feel like the cool things I've created has been a combination of believing in myself and being willing to show up in that space.
So to polish off the metaphor, like a good pair of earrings, we went full circle. So go for it. It's so great to meet you, Sylvia. Thank you so much for your story, for your energy. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful holiday season.
It's my pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thank you.